Hi there, Mr. Dahl here, and we're going to review what we know about photosynthesis. So right off the bat, let's jump in and talk about how we can break down the word photosynthesis to determine what it means. So the first part we have is photo. The second part is synthesis. So that first part, photo, what do we know about that? Well, that means light. We're going to be using light to drive photosynthesis so that we can get to the synthesis part. So in the light part, we make what's called ATP, and we can think about that as energy in its purest form. So we're going to use that ATP from the photo part in our synthesis part, which means to make, and we are going to make sugar in the form of glucose. This is the end product, the whole goal of photosynthesis. This is what plants are trying to do when they run through photosynthesis. Make glucose for themselves so they can store energy from sunlight. So moving on now, let's talk about what goes into and what comes out of photosynthesis. First, we have H2O or water, which would be taken up to the roots of most plants. CO2 or carbon dioxide, which is a gas from the air. So it's what we breathe out. And finally, we're going to get our energy from sunlight. So the plant takes these in, runs through photosynthesis, and what do we get out of it? Two things that I really like. The first is going to be oxygen, or molecular oxygen. That's the stuff that we breathe in, we need to live, O2. The second thing, the whole goal of photosynthesis again, is going to be C6H12O6, or our glucose. And again, this is the whole purpose, the whole goal of photosynthesis. So let's take a look at the equation for photosynthesis. As you can see, our plant takes in water. So we have water, 6 H2Os, taking carbon dioxide, we have 6 CO2s. We go through a two-step process, so we have two arrows, 1 and 2, and then out the other side we have 6 oxygens and 1 glucose molecule. Now we don't need to put the 1 there because if there isn't one, we know that there's only one. So we have our reactants over here on the left and our products on the right. So let's take a look at the order of what happens. So first thing that happens, we have sunlight come in our first step, and it breaks water for us. This water breaks down into H2 and oxygen. That's the first thing that's going to happen. Second thing that's going to happen is this oxygen is going to pair up with another oxygen and become molecular oxygen, diffuse out from the plant or the photosynthesizer, and become our product of oxygen. That's step number 2. Both of these occur here in what is known as the light reaction. This is where we're using sunlight to break water. So the second part occurs right here, this second arrow. So what do we need to do? We need to find out how we're going to use carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen to make our sugar. That's where the second arrow comes in. So if I look over here in the reactants, I can find some carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. We're going to use those in that second part to make our glucose. This second arrow right here is named after my buddy Melvin Calvin, and we call that the Calvin cycle. This is our sugar factory. This is where our sugar is made because in the end we know we want to get to our glucose. That is the end goal of photosynthesis. So to reiterate, photosynthesis, we're taking in water, carbon dioxide, and energy from sunlight, and we're making two things: oxygen that we breathe, molecular oxygen, and glucose.